Welcome to Mighty Morphin Ranger, the podcast where we watch an episode of Power Rangers and then we talk about it afterwards. We're going to watch episode number 35 of the show, which is the Green Candle Part 2, the potentially thrilling conclusion.
I mean, I wouldn't get their hopes up.
Of what we watched last week, which is the Green Candle Part 1.
Yep.
Yeah, Kaley's back. Welcome back, Kaley.
Hello.
Glad you could join us once again.
Yes.
Now, before we get onto the potentially thrilling conclusion of what...
I mean, I wouldn't get their hopes up.
Are we doing a bit? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, it's become a bit.
He didn't say potentially. He didn't say it would definitely.
We're spontaneously doing a bit of comedy. Is that okay with you?
It'll be a first for the show.
Okay. What would you like to talk about, Matt?
Yeah, before we start on the episode, there's two things that I'd like to talk about
Sure.
this week. What the first one is the free comic book day comic Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Yep.
So if you went to a comic book store on May 3rd, you'd be able to select one, possibly more, depending on the generosity of your comic book store, free comics.
Yep.
And one of them was a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comic starring the original five guys.
Yep.
And Tommy as the White Ranger.
Yes, so it's actually from a little further in the series than we're up to at the moment.
That's right.
It's set, I believe, immediately after the events of the episode White Light.
Yeah, it's very specific in placing
Yes.
where it is in the chronology, which is interesting because despite it being definitely aimed at kids,
Yep.
it's clearly written by someone who has an extensive knowledge of the show
Yep.
and is very sort of invested and interested, or at least did a lot of research, is good at pretending. Because, as you said, it's very specifically placed in
Yes.
the time frame. It also brings back a favourite thing of, I know, Michael
Possibly our favourite thing.
which is the rad bug. For those who remember us ranting about the rad bug on the show, makes a fantastic appearance.
Yeah, not just as a vehicle.
No, it actually turns out to be the monster of the issue. When
We could not be more pleased.
no, it's fantastic.
It is
made
pretty
us
great.
very happy. It's interesting too because it also goes to lengths to make the characters look their actual age.
Yep.
As like teenagers. So the characters in here, I don't know if you can see Kat, I'm holding up to you, but they look like they're, 15?
They
maybe?
look like they're the age they
Whereas
should be
in
rather
the
than
show
the age of
they-
the actors.
That's right, which I thought was kind of cool.
And they're pretty well drawn. It's kind of almost a manga-y art style.
Yeah, almost.
A little kind of that kind of anime face
Yeah.
stuff going on. But it's, it's solidly drawn. There's nothing groundbreaking in it, I don't think. But
No, I think it's kind of cool though because it does take advantage of the fact that it's not the show and it lets them do some stuff that no one
Yes.
will be able to. Like there's a cool bit where Tommy summons the Tiger Sword.
yep.
And the Rangers summon them Zord to make the Megazord. And to catch up to the Rad Bug, which is going way too fast because of how Billy built it, I guess, or whatever.
It can go 3 million miles an hour or something.
Or something like that. The Megazord hops onto the Tiger Zord and rides it.
Which you could never have done.
Yeah.
Because the Tigerzord is a tiny die-cast model and the Megazord is like a dude.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's some nice stuff. I think comics is probably like the perfect medium for Power Rangers.
Yeah. And yeah, I was almost disappointed that they didn't make it like a bit more mature for all the fans sort of thing.
Yeah.
But also, I'm happy that it's for the kids. I don't want to take away the opportunity for new young readers to come and experience this story.
And I think especially in light of the revelation that we're going to be getting a movie.
Yeah.
Which I imagine will be aimed at kind of that youngish to young adult audience.
Yeah.
I think having some all ages available material
It was a good call.
is a good call.
There's some interesting choices. I know when Michael was reading through, I was watching him do it in a not weird way. And there's a moment that made him go, oh, in almost disgust, I guess, in the same way that I sort of did when I read it originally, which is as the rad bug gets evil and sort of zooms past, it hits Trini.
Yeah.
Only on the leg, but given that Twee, who played Trini, actually died in a car crash, it seemed like bad taste. I don't think it was intentional. It was just like an unfortunate...
Yeah, the thing is, there's no necessary reason for it to have been her.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any story
Significance.
relevance other than it hit one of the Power Rangers because it's going evil.
Yeah.
I feel like it could have been someone else
Yeah.
with not a lot of effort and it wouldn't quite have been as terrible. But that's just how it is.
I like that it also keeps some of the strange little ticks of the show, like when Tommy Morrissey says White Tiger Zord, despite the fact that no one else says Zord at the end of the morphing thing.
And it's a half page of all of them inside the morpher.
Yeah.
It looks exactly like the shot on the TV show.
Yeah.
Probably better graphics.
It's just it's a cool little thing, and I think having the rad bug there for
That was nice.
long-time fans was nice.
So my understanding is that they're going to be releasing not like a regular comic, but a series of number of page graphic novels instead. Which is, look, to be honest, it's the way I think that comics should basically be released these days.
All the time, yeah.
I think it's a sensible option, and I know when the first one comes out, we'll definitely be getting our hands on one and having a look through it.
So I guess, it did its job for us, at least, in that respect.
I think the thing that is occurring to me is that it is the perfect medium to do, crossovers with past teams of Power Rangers and stuff like the Legend War, which is going to be absurdly expensive to have done big in the way it should be done in live action, is more work for an artist, but he's just got to draw them all. And I think there's potential for the line, to do some exciting things in that sense.
I don't see it happening just because of the age group it seems to be targeted at, but I agree that it'd be a good place for it.
I certainly don't imagine that there will be regular kind of events. But I could see it happening occasionally if they decide to tap that older person market.
If it's successful. So, when it comes out, go grab and...
Yeah, we'll let you know as soon as we know any kind of release date details.
Yeah.
I imagine if this has come out this year, there will be one out in the next couple of months.
Yeah. Cool.
So speaking of crossovers with other teams of Power Rangers, Matt, what was the second thing you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I would talk about in Sentai, which is the Japanese Power Rangers that they source all their footage from. They have a crossover. I feel it's still coming. It's not quite out yet, but we've seen some photos and stuff from it, which is a crossover between the Power Ranger series that will be adapted into Power Rangers Dino Charge in the future, and two previous Sentai series, which are both dinosaur themed. Power Rangers Dino Thunder, which is a Disney series in the States a few years ago, and Zeo Ranger, which is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
And they've got all those casts back.
It looks like, I don't know if they got them all, but it looks like they may have. So there's a shot of the Japanese guy who played the Red Zeo Ranger with his morph out. And it's cool because he's like a middle-aged man now, basically.
Are they still pretending that they're in high school?
No, I don't think so. It's not the impression that... Although that in Japan, they were never from high school. They were from the Stone Age.
You don't have to go to high school when you were a caveman.
There's also some footage of the new Megazord standing alongside the original Mighty Morphin Megazord and the Power Rangers Dino Thunder Megazord. And it looks pretty awesome. I think the dinosaur Power Rangers theme is always cool because dinosaurs are rad.
I think it's a good choice given that they've gone to the dinosaur well. Three times. And they're roughly equally spaced.
I also think that at that age that Power Rangers is targeted at, most kids are at that stage of dinosaurs are really awesome.
Yeah,
dinosaurs are really awesome. That's just true.
That's not Nades and Kaley. They're always awesome.
I have sometimes
but you know what I mean?
I do.
When you're at that age, I borrowed the same book from the library about dinosaurs 5 times in 2
I
months.
have sometimes wondered if my love of dinosaurs is because of Power Rangers or the other way around. I have a love of space, and I wonder if that's Power Rangers in Space's fault, or if I love Power Rangers in Space because I loved space.
It is an interesting question. I suspect that they're just really good, the Japanese guys are really good at picking stuff that kids love. Space is awesome.
I don't love
cars. Are awesome.
I don't love cars.
But I think generally people love cars. And I think if it was Power Rangers causing you to love things, you would love cars because you love
That's
Turbo.
true.
Yeah. Well, I enjoyed Power Rangers in space, but I wouldn't say I am particularly interested in space.
Space makes Matt and I cry.
It does, yeah.
We love space.
I don't know.
Have you guys seen the trailer for Interstellar? Audience, I'm speaking to you because if you haven't, you should.
It's basically the best ad NASA have never made.
Yeah.
Tagged by the title of a movie that's about to come out.
Yeah.
We're very excited.
So excited for Interstellar. I love space. Anyway.
Anyway. I think there's no chance of that movie being adapted for an American audience.
No chance.
Yeah, for a number of reasons. One is that there have been several previous team-up kind of movies that haven't been adapted.
Well, the thing is, they're usually a crossover between the previous and current teams.
Yes.
And they use them every time.
We haven't seen one for a while.
But we saw them for, like, every time
for
they
a long
feasibly
time,
could.
yes.
Yeah.
I
think it was in space. They started using that stuff every time.
Yes, or Lost Galaxy is the first one, because...
Yeah, sorry, Lost Galaxy with space.
Lost Galaxy is the first team of Power Rangers that doesn't contain Power Rangers from the previous season.
Yeah.
I think, as mentioned, the death of the Yellow Ranger, of Tutran, I think that makes it difficult, just because... You can't right away around it.
I mean, look, I think the only way you could do it is if Trini doesn't join up with the rest of the Rangers until after she's morphed and then she's dubbed over. Which is, like, I think would make a lot of the fans go, oh, that's unfortunate, but I think most people would understand that that's...
I mean, that's certainly true. I mean, I guess it just depends what they've got to work with.
And I think we're finally at the point where all the other Mighty Morphin Rangers would be open to the idea of doing it?
I think certainly this last year has been the most enthused about Power Rangers any of them have ever been.
Yeah. And I think because potentially Dino Charge might be the last TV series for a little while.
Do you think?
Because it'd be the last before the film. And I can't see them wanting to run those two things concurrently.
Yeah, I've wondered about that. I'm not sure what they'll do there.
Yeah. So if they have to stop the show at least for a little while... Seems like the way to do it would be...
To go out with a bang.
Go out with a bang, end the universe.
And then start again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that they'll stop making Power Rangers just because it keeps making them so much money.
Mm.
And I don't know what the deal of their contract with Toei is.
Yeah.
I don't know if... Because my understanding was that they had to adapt every season of Super Sentai into a series of Power Rangers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was part of the contract, was you'll do every one.
But didn't they skip one to do Super Mega Force?
Yes, well, no, they're about to skip one.
Okay.
They're going to not do Go Busters.
Right, yep.
And they're going to do Dino Charge instead.
Yep.
So, I don't know if that contract is over and a new contract has been signed. I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah. I guess we can only speculate.
Until we know something.
Until we know, but... I would love to see it because obviously we love Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
We do.
I genuinely like Dino Thunder. I think that's probably one of the best Disney seasons. Yep. The characters from it are pretty rad.
Do you see a problem with them needing to use the green Mighty Morphin Ranger and the black Dino Thunder Ranger?
Well, the footage I've seen doesn't feature the special rangers of either.
Okay.
It's just
the main core.
The main core. So, and that's the
They'd
five...
definitely get Jason David Frank in, wouldn't they? He wouldn't let them do it without him.
You'd think so.
He would just go down to the set in his copy of the Green Ranger costume that he has, and he would just stand in the background until they had to acknowledge him.
It's so true. But yeah, so
look, there's been Power Rangers news for like a week now when we're recording this about the movie, and he's already taken to Twitter to petition people to get them to petition Saban for him to be in the film.
Yeah, he's a keen being, and I love him for it. But he's a go-getter.
Could he be like how Stan Lee is in Marvel films, and he just has like a cameo there?
I have no doubt that if he's in it, that is what he will be.
I mean, I think what he wants to be, if he can't be like the dark brooding solo character, is the mentor that teaches them.
I mean, look, if he wants to be Zordon, I mean...
Put him in there.
I figure that...
I guess the problem is that like, love the dude, awesome guy, not a great actor. And this is their chance to get some decent quality actors into a Power Rangers.
To hire some people who can act.
Yeah, and I think that would kind of kill it if they had to act against Jason David Frank.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, so what's up for today? Green Candle Part 2.
Yeah.
We'll see if Tommy is going to lose his powers forever, or if he's going to do some sort of magical rescue and it's not going to be a deal.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah,
he may die. We may not see him for the next 20 years in Power Rangers stuff.
No. Yeah, he may have such a bad experience in this episode that he'll never come back to Power Rangers ever again.
Certainly not as 4 more different Rangers.
So we're going to go watch The Green Candle Part 2. It's episode 35 if you're playing along at home.
Yeah, you can watch it. Don't forget, guys, you can watch the episode and then listen to the podcast after.
We've heard good things about doing it that way.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a fun way to do it. So,
and we'll be back in a sec.
Welcome back. We just watched episode number 35, The Green Candle Part 2. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, it actually had some dramatic weight to it, which is profoundly surprising for an episode of Power Rangers.
I was thinking about that. I was like, if I was a kid watching that, I would be completely terrified about what was going to happen to the Power Rangers and, like, how is this all going to affect them? Like, that may be the one time that Rita's plan was almost perfect.
Yeah. It was pretty solid. I think that's largely due to the fact that it was very easy on her part. She just had to light a candle and wait. But
she had to distract them.
That's true.
She had to come up with good ideas of how to distract them.
It actually kind of worked. I guess we can...
Yeah, we can talk about that. So we start in the same place we left off last week.
Yeah.
Where we're in the command centre and Tommy's told them what's going on.
Reinform you of what happened.
Yeah.
Because it's a TV show.
Some kids weren't there yesterday. So basically they decide that someone has to go get the candle. And if they get the candle, they can undo the spell or they can deal with it somehow.
Yeah.
So Tommy says, well, I'll go get the candle. And then Zoran says, no, look, you being with the candle, that'll make it go faster. We can't kind of do that. So Jason says, well, I'll go get the candle. And Tommy says, you know, there's a bit of like, I can't let you do that.
I don't want you to journey into Rita's dark dimension. Which I think is my second new euphemism after last week's Raising the Dragon Sword.
Yep. Going into her dark dimension.
Yep. Sorry.
That's okay. So, but they eventually decide that it's going to have to be done, and he's one of the team, and it's worth the risk. And Jason's the only one who's been to the dark dimension before, so he's the best.
Freaked out
he's the best candidate.
Being there, like,
it's not virgin territory for Jason.
Are you proud of yourself?
Yeah, I'm pretty proud.
Okay. So Billy creates some technobabble sticks.
Yep.
Which
they look fantastic.
They look terrible. They got spinny
I'm pretty
spirals.
Sure they were done during a kid's science project.
I think the spinny spirals on it are what really set it off as like just the worst latest design.
Because even if they'd just been the metal forked rods that they were, you'd have been like, oh yeah, it's like a dowsing rod. Yeah. I kind of buy that in a kind of nonsense Power Rangers way.
But it is targeted at kids, so it is supposed to look
It
odd.
spins so that's how you know this science. So, basically, they've tracked the molecular energy of the putties, and they're going to use that to follow their teleportation into the dark dimension, which, yeah, sure. Yeah. I'm comfortable with that. And in the meantime, Rita's plan is that the Cyclops will impersonate the Megazord.
Yep.
And that'll distract the Rangers for long enough that they won't be able to do anything about the candle. And what she says is, boy, will they be confused. I mean, I don't think they'll be confused.
Because that's exactly what you did last time.
But they'll be in one giant robot. Yeah. You'll be the other giant robot that looks like it. I don't think they're going to go, oh, crap, and punch themselves in the face.
Is that us?
I think this part was explained before they went with the doodads. Because they were like, we have to go save Angel Grove. And then Zordon's like, no, you need to go get the candle. And then that's when Tommy's like, I'll save Angel Grove.
Yes. He's going to valiantly brave on, despite the fact that he knows it will lead to his doom.
Mm.
Which is, actually kind of...
Compelling.
Yeah. Exciting. So, it's time for another Bulk and Skull scene. Because they're getting paid every week.
Normally, this is the scene where I'm like, all right, here we go again. But this time, because there was a pressing time constraint that was vital to the possible death of the Power Rangers... When they were, approaching the scene, I was like, no, guys, they don't have time for this shit this time. We can't fuck around. We don't have time for Bulk and Skull.
So, apparently the pond...
But isn't that life?
Apparently the pond that Tommy and Kimberly were at before and that is where the putties were, so is where they're going to set up, is on top of a hill.
Yeah.
Which, geographically, I don't think is how ponds work.
Well, it could be an artificial pond. That's neither here nor there.
Yeah, it could have. He could be on a level, and then it drops down, and then they dug a hole and put water in there.
But so
made an artificial pond.
Bulk and Skull see them at the top of the hill.
Yeah.
They get upset because it's their hill. They own the hill.
Before we get to this point, we have to discuss what Bulk and Skull were doing before they realised the Rangers were there.
Are they kind of just lying in the long grass?
They're not lying. They're moving through it and making like monkey sounds. They're pushing their way through the grass going, like that.
I don't understand.
I thought maybe they would just like do it to annoy the other people. But they're doing it, having a good time. Then they see the Power Rangers and they're like, oh, they're interrupting our grass time. Like, who are these people?
The notion that Bulk and Skull just go around and fuck around playing monkeys in the grass is the least surprising thing to happen in this episode.
It's just because these guys are meant to be like 16, 17. Outside of them being super high.
They couldn't show them behind the shed smoking marijuana.
Considering the type of characters they are, it was probably implied that they were high.
Yeah, I guess that does make a good amount of sense. Because they got super high. Like, let's be monkeys in the grass.
As children, they can't specifically say, yeah, they're on drugs.
I think bongs are out of limits at 4:30 in the afternoon. So, Bulk and Skull run up the hill.
Yeah.
Jog up the hill. And that
great difficulty
gets them puffed out.
Yeah. Because Skull has to push Bulk up some of the way up the hill.
And then Kimberly's like, does anyone else hear that gross sound?
I like to think of the gross sound being that music that plays every time Bulk and Skull come. That's a gross sound that makes me unhappy every time I hear it.
I mean, look, I get that they're being paid to be in every episode. I could have done without them this week, definitely.
It severely undercuts the tension of the episode, which is surprisingly well maintained up until that point.
I was absolutely expecting them to end up in the pond.
Yeah.
That is not what happens. Bulk ends up inside a bin, which rolls down the hill.
I don't think the bin was there before.
No.
But I guess it's good for nostalgia's sake once again. Like, that's the thing they used to do, fall into bins. So glad we got that back.
Yeah, it's been a while since they fell into a bin.
Yeah.
They brought it back in Mean Girls. Have you seen Mean Girls?
Not in like 10 years.
Yeah, because I think Lindsay Lohan's character
is Bulk.
Yeah, and falls into the bin.
I would, if they remade the show, with the movie, I think Lindsay Lohan needs to be Bulk.
That would be amazing.
I need to write someone else. I mean, what else is she doing? Just cocaine. That's fine.
What if you changed Bulk and Skull into female, like, bitchy characters
I think
that on the Power Rangers?
That would make it much more uncomfortable when they got physically hurt every 10 minutes. Like, it's a bit more okay with the dude for some reason when he gets, like, pushed down a hill in a garbage can, in a bin.
Oh.
If it was a woman, you'd be like, that's probably not okay.
Or if the other woman pushed her into it, like one of the other female Rangers.
I guess. It's weird territory. I
don't think any of them are going to be played by... Look, I think if Lindsay Lohan is announced in the cast, we need to start placing bets on things.
Yeah.
I think the production would get shut down.
So, Jason, they're setting up these sticks. And Jason's going to go through.
Yeah.
Why don't they all go through?
I don't... Well, there's two questions.
Have to hold it.
There's two of them could hold it, though.
True.
There's two more people. But that also raises the question of why Jason doesn't morph.
Yes, I did wonder that.
I don't understand.
I would think, in the situation where you know you are going into a dungeon where they're probably waiting for you, why you don't go in with every advantage that you've got.
Is there a thing that's been shown in it that they can't morph in there, or...?
No, because the previous Goldar's Raid Dungeon scenario was that Goldar had Jason's morph on, like taunting him with it. It's like, if you could morph, this would be much easier for you. So
I mean, if it was me, I'd have got the Megazord and gone through the portal and just, go properly, right?
Maybe it's ego. He's like, I want to defeat you by myself, not in my outfit.
I feel like they had a couple of advantages that they could have used.
Yeah.
Look, they're teenagers. They're not particularly smart all the time.
What happens if the candle is destroyed? Why not just get Titanus in the Ultra Zord and shoot its massive laser through the portal?
Yeah, all these are good plans.
I think the issue is that they don't know what would happen if the candle was destroyed.
That would be fair. So Tommy, while this is happening, is in the Dragon Zord. He summoned the Dragon Zord.
Mm-hmm.
Why did he how was he able to summon it so quickly when last episode he was like, my power is running out. It takes me 3 times to get it, and then all of a sudden...
Well, it's kind of how it works sometimes. Sometimes it rises, sometimes it doesn't.
There we go. It's about his dick. He does have to try and summon it twice. So,
Although he doesn't say anything about it, he does play the tune twice, yeah.
That's how it goes. And then he gets into the cockpit.
Yeah, which both Mark and I went, what?
Because we've seen it for like 20 episodes.
Yeah.
And it has never had a cockpit.
Yeah. He's always either controlled it with his dagger from a building or while standing on it.
Yeah.
Never inside.
He's never gotten inside it. And I don't know why it suddenly has a cockpit.
Well, it probably had it before. It's just only for emergency situations.
So many questions.
There's no reason for him to have not gotten into the cockpit every other time.
I assume it's probably because that's the best way to do a scene, and that's why all the others are in there. But normally, he doesn't have to be shown too much. It's more because all the others are doing all the...
Yeah, I know what you mean. They're controlling the Megazord. But
so it's probably more camera.
There's just a lot of inconsistency regarding Megazords and cockpits in general with all the characters, like where they are.
How they go from part to part, yeah. This Zord fight was great.
Yeah.
It was like Cyclops is constantly changing between the Megazord and the Dragon Zord and the Mega Dragon Zord and his own form.
Yep.
And is like fighting the Dragon Zord and he's beating it sometimes and he's losing to it sometimes. It's probably one of the best
executed
Megazord fights that we've seen.
Yeah, it demonstrates a surprisingly good understanding of the dynamics of an interesting fight and constantly shifting like momentum of a fight. And it's surprising that we haven't seen anything like that yet.
Yeah.
I hope there's more of that going forward. That's not just a sort of like...
a one-off.
I'm losing, then I get a power-up, now I'm winning. There's a bit of back and forth there. Yeah.
And it's good. So, in the meantime, Jason has gone into the dungeon.
Yeah.
And he fights Goldar for a bit, but Goldar basically holds him away from the candle.
Because we know from experience, Jason can't beat Goldar unmorphed.
Yeah.
That's just a fact.
Which is why he went in unmorphed.
Which I don't know if any of the Power Rangers can technically beat.
No, I think unmorphed, I feel like the power levels are Goldar could kill them all at once.
Yeah.
Morphed, they're probably even.
Yep.
But there is a moment where Jason is between Goldar and the candle.
Yep.
And
could have just turned around.
And he just flips out of the way because...
Well, I think he did it earlier as well. And he was almost there, but then Goldar grabbed him and threw him.
Yeah, but there's another time where like Goldar is still over there, like doesn't know what to do, and he could have dealt with it. But, that's
Again,
just...
they're not very bright. They're there for their fighting ability.
And basically what happens is Tommy starts to lose pretty drastically.
Yeah.
So...
to the point where they legitimately think he's going to die.
Yeah. So Zordon says, no, someone has to go in, get Jason, and you guys have to go help him.
Yeah.
Now, they've summoned the Megazord without one of the Power Rangers.
That was what I was thinking as well. Like, they don't need Jason to make a Megazord.
Even if you said they need someone there to man the sticks,
yeah,
surely, 3 of the Zords could go...
The thing is, they have a Megazord formation that doesn't require the Tyrannosaurus Rex Zord.
They absolutely do.
So they could have just had the other 4 Rangers go, make... the Dragon Zord Battle Mode, I think it's called. Probably be fine.
That's not what happens.
No.
And even if that had happened, and then that still wasn't enough...
I've always wondered why they morph, why they join up, because in a situation like that, wouldn't it be easier to defeat someone with a group?
I believe they're stronger together.
Yeah.
Somehow.
It's a teamwork metaphor.
Yeah. They can only summon the giant sword when they're all together. Yeah. But so Zach goes in and he basically says, "Dude, we've got to go. We've got to And so Jason's like, I don't want to go, I can beat him. He's like, no, Tommy's going to die.
Right? Zach's like, A, Tommy's going to die. B, we know from experience you can't, so stop being an idiot.
You'd think that if they were both there, right, one could distract Goldar, quickly grab the thing and run away.
There are many ways that this could have played in their favour.
Having nitpicked the shit out of this, though, it's a pretty episode.
Yes.
It's a pretty dramatic scene where Jason has to be like, okay,
Zach's telling him we have to go.
You're like, I know you want to save his power, but you have to save his life.
Yeah.
And like
with actors who could act, it would have been touching.
It would have been a touching scene. Yeah.
So they summon the Megazord really quickly.
Yeah, they rush through that.
Like basically they morph, and then we get the shot of the Megazord's head.
It took too much time with the Vulcan skull scene.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not complaining, right? I've seen the Megazord transformation enough that I could do without it pretty regularly.
Yeah.
And they summon Titanus the Carrierzord, and they form the Ultrazord, and they blast the shit out of the Cyclops monster. And
Ultrazord is so boring. After talking about a cool fight, the thing that just sort of wheels out, shoots, and ends the fight.
Because it's the Megazord standing on one Zord with another Zord just as a hat.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't interestingly combine.
No, and they just shoot out like a ball of energy.
Like,
there's no dynamic.
If it was me and I was designing it, I think the neck of like the Brachiosaur that Titanus is would become like a cannon mounted on the arm, and the rest of it would become like white armor, and it would be super cool. But it literally, a hatch in the back opens up and it stands there.
And it's weird because it's not, unfortunately, by a long shot, the last Carrierzord. For some reason, they think this is a cool thing. Like, a thing rolls out and the Zord hops in it and it shoots a gun.
Well, I assume it's like a tank.
Yeah, it is. It's basically a tank.
Yeah.
So, tanks are cool.
Well, I don't think...
Not as cool as a dude with a cannon on its arm.
Yeah, I think robots are cooler than tanks. On the coolness hierarchy, I think robot above tank.
Yeah, so robot standing in tank
Yeah.
is not as exciting as super robot.
Yeah.
But, it was 20 years ago. It's too late to complain.
We can still complain. It's just not going to change anything.
We'll complain at length for the next several years of our life.
So Cyclops gets destroyed, which is kind of a shame because he's a really cool kind of gimmick and there was stuff they could have done there. But anyway.
It's weird there's a Cyclops, but whatever.
Yeah, I was confused why a Cyclops.
Cyclopses have that thing about they can morph to look like anyone.
Morph to look like robots.
Yeah.
That's the Cyclops.
Giant robots, yeah.
The Cyclops of myth.
Yeah. He was blinded. He was like, who did that? Nobody blinded me with their giant Megazord. Oh, gosh. So we're back at the command center now.
Yep.
And Tommy is like glowing green
Yep.
in their morph.
Yep.
And Zordon says, look, there is an alternate solution,
Yep.
right? If you give your power coin to someone else,
Yep.
you'll lose your powers, but Rita won't get them.
Yep.
Because the wax is tied to Tommy directly.
Yep.
So it would have been nice if you'd mentioned something about that before. But so he takes his coin out of his belt and he gives it to Jason. He doesn't even question who he might give it to. It goes straight to Jason.
That's because he's the leader.
And his gold armor disappears and Jason gets it.
Yeah.
Which I thought the power coin because he doesn't demorph. I thought the power coin let you morph, not gave you the gold armor. But
well, he then later demorphs.
Yes.
It just takes a while.
Takes a while. And I think, like we've talked about how there's some pretty big differences between the Japanese and American footage.
Yep.
And one of the huge ones is the gold armor.
Yep.
I think this is the episode where we see it in the most dramatic contrast. Because in the Japanese footage, he has the solid metal
If it's
armor
not
that
metal,
looks
it's
awesome.
like it's a solid piece of something that looks golden.
It looks rad. Like, it's a cool looking thing.
In the American footage,
Yeah.
it looks like a gold Duna cover.
Yeah.
Yes,
Like,
that's pretty much what it
And
is. Because their outfits are just cotton.
It's the worst. But then we also see that not only is it like a cheap looking material, the diamond on the front of it isn't even properly attached to the rest of the armor. It's like sort of almost falling off. It looks so bad that I couldn't concentrate on the scene because it was distractingly horrible.
and especially with all the focus on it because it's being transferred to someone else.
Yeah. It was a key part of the scene and it looked like
And it's like,
so bad.
it's weird to me that they could get the helmets,
Yep.
and they could get Goldar and Squad and Baboo. We've seen all of those interact with the Rangers.
Yep.
But that gold piece
They must have lost it.
was unavailable to them.
Yeah. I would love to know what happened to it.
Maybe it's too special.
I mean,
It's in a Japanese Sentai museum somewhere.
that would be a cool place. Do you reckon there is one?
I know there's a Sentai cafe or something. I think we have to go to Japan, Michael. I think this is what the realization I'm coming to.
Well, maybe, Matt, one day if this podcast makes us more than 8 cents, we might be able to afford a trip to Japan.
Well, at least you're making some money.
We're not up to 9 cents yet?
Well, we might be. I haven't checked in a while.
Okay.
But Tommy takes this... Okay, I have a question first.
Yeah.
The Ranger coins.
Yes.
Right? Why doesn't Tommy just swap his with Jason?
Because they're tied to their souls.
Are they?
Yeah, I think there's something about that was mentioned a little while ago, which is why when the putties get the morphers, they can't use them.
Right, okay. But he can transfer his powers somehow.
Yeah.
But not all of his powers, just his armor powers.
And the ability to control the Dragon Zord.
Presumably, yeah. I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
It just
teaches you how to play the flute, and so that's his powers, right? That's
holds an armor and can play the flute.
Look, I would take those powers. I'd love to be musically talented. I've got armor, so I wouldn't complain.
But you wouldn't want that gold armor, though. Like...
No, I want the Japanese gold armor.
I was just thinking, because if he can give his powers to Jason, why couldn't Jason just give his powers to Tommy? Then Rita couldn't get them.
Jason has his powers, and he wants his powers. Excuse me.
I feel like that could have been arranged. And then Jason would get to be the special 6th one. But
I assume there is a reason down the track why they haven't done that, because I assume
it's basically they need the Green Ranger to not be there anymore. So any solution to this
so there's a written reason for why you can't just do it. But...
We're trying to find in-universe explanations because the out-of-universe explanations are obvious and unsatisfying. Tommy takes it super well.
He does, yeah.
Like, for a long time, he'd been a super-powered human individual superhero saving the world.
Yeah.
And they're like, sorry.
I feel like
and
if it was realistic, he would have, snapped and gone into, some sort of... Although it hasn't been that long, so maybe if it went on longer, he would... And it was a more grown-up TV show, he would go into, a dark spiral.
He doesn't even really look,
and then
sad.
Then he'd start doing the monkey thing with...
So, yeah, he's like, I had a good run. You guys were great friends. I hope we stay friends. Thanks for that. I'm out of here.
Yeah, it's very mature of him.
Yes.
I would have chucked an epic tantrum.
I would have at least been that's a little disappointing.
Yeah.
I would have been like, can I still come to meetings?
There's not even, it's not even presented that maybe Tommy could hang around in the command center and help Alpha or, do stuff with them. He's just...
They're like, no, so
do you think that's a representation of what it's like in the American military?
Once you're out, you're out.
Yeah.
I'm imagining
and
now...
they just forget about you.
You're not supported by the system.
Yeah.
I'm imagining now that, they'll all be hanging out after school and they'll get a call from Zordon and they'll all have to leave Tommy.
And they'll, gently pat him on the head in a really patronising way.
And sometimes...
Jason, you'll be like...
There, buddy.
Sometimes, after they've all morphed and gone, he stands there and goes, Dragon Zord!
Oh.
And it's just sad. But so we cut to, he's in the park practicing some sort of martial art, yoga, something.
He's been doing Tai Chi in that particular moment.
Yeah, but someone should tell him he doesn't have to wear all green anymore. He can buy some different...
Well, no, I think that's him holding on.
Yeah, he's not quite okay with it, but he's trying to be.
If I don't wear different clothes, I might get it back. And he doesn't have to practice karate anymore if he doesn't want to.
The same clothes all the time before they got picked?
Yes.
They were definitely in their colours prior.
Yeah.
That's how they got chosen. Zordon just found a group of 5 kids.
Parents are like, I really think you should wear some blue.
As far as we can tell, none of them have parents.
At this age, yeah.
That's quite depressing.
Kimberly has a cool uncle who flies planes.
Kimberly has a creepy uncle.
And gets drugged by Squirt. It's a good episode.
It's a weird show.
Are we sure this is a kid show?
It's a weird show. And so Kimberly comes up to Tommy, and we get some teen drama that is actually kind of, sweet and compelling.
Yeah.
Does someone else want to fill it in?
I just like how Kimberly is like, she turns around after he asks her, and he's like, Kimberly, what?
Kimberly's basically like, oh, I want to do you.
So what happens is Kimberly goes to check on him.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, no, I miss you. And he's like, no, it's okay. I know I'm not a Power Ranger.
Well, first she's like, we miss you.
Yeah, we miss you.
And then he's like, blah, blah, blah. And
that's
then,
all right. We'll
then,
see each other around.
Yeah, and then she's like, I miss you.
And he's like, yeah.
And he goes in for the most chaste kiss on the lips in television history.
They make facial contact for maybe a second.
I think that's generous.
I
mean, it's cute. Like, it's not unlike what people who haven't really kissed before would do.
I mean, I guess they are 15 or 16, theoretically.
So it's fine. It's just hilarious. And then Tommy's like, well, this will be easy. I could ask you, do you want to go to the dance? And then she turns around
it's great.
Takes him out for a little bit.
It's a really nice little bit.
Yeah.
Like,
it's very teenage.
Yeah.
It's like what you could see happening.
And she basically just said, I didn't want to,
I didn't want to make it too easy
just because we made out, that doesn't mean I'm going to go to the dance with you. I mean,
She's like, I want to have some fun with you. And
yeah, she does.
Yeah. But then, she reveals that she was just pretending. She really does want to go to the dance. So Tommy picks her up and spins her in the air, and we get a camera shot of
right up her skirt.
But it's okay because she has like those
spandex tights.
Yeah. Like the sports pants that they wear when they're riding the bikes, but they're pink.
Yeah, because obviously.
Pink Ranger.
But it's good. I mean, it's sensible. She does a lot of flips and kicks, so it's appropriate attire. Good work, Kimberly.
And then that's where we end the episode.
Yeah.
I think that's a good ending.
I thought it was a well-built two-parter.
Reasonably, yeah.
It suffered, as usual, from having to integrate footage about cavemen superheroes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
it also suffered...
And also Vulcan Skull.
Yes, that's what I was about to say.
But as far as within the constraints that they have...
I wish they did that good all the time.
Yeah. So, that was it. And I genuinely don't know if Tommy is in next week's episode. Like, I know that he will eventually return.
Yeah.
But I'm not aware of if he will stick around.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of excited to see how long it is until he's back and what the deal is there,
Yeah, it's interesting you spot they left it because, like, if you're a kid you're watching this as it aired, you'd legitimately think that that's it for the Green Ranger.
Yeah.
But you'd be pretty sad if he was your favourite.
Yeah.
But he was many people's favourite.
But you'd also think, okay, he and Kimberly just had a kiss, so he's probably not going away immediately because they're just...
Yeah, maybe he'll just stick around for the high school stuff.
Yeah.
But we'll see, I guess.
But he's still not Green Ranger.
Yeah.
Which is what kids identify more with the Green Ranger than Tommy.
And I think it's interesting that for the first time in a long time, I am curious and vaguely excited about what the next episode will hold.
Yes.
Which is...
Because this was an interesting development.
Yeah.
To get rid of the Green Ranger.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see what happens.
I actually had forgotten that happened. So I was expecting that it would all be fine and how those TV shows work out. But actually something bad did happen and they have to deal with it.
Yeah. And I think it goes to show that it can sometimes be a great thing for writers, sometimes particularly bad writers, to have constraints that they have to write in.
Yes.
So the fact that they had to deal with the Green Ranger going away forced them to come up with something interesting and compelling that changes the status quo.
Yeah.
Rather than being like, okay, there's some monster footage right while they're fighting the monster. You know?
So there we go.
Yeah.
Did any of you have anything else to say?
I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Thank you for being on, Kaley.
That's all right.
We've been trying to get you for a while, but you're a busy lady.
I'm
doing sports.
I'm sure we'll have you on at some point in the future.
I hope so. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed it too, listeners.
Yeah, we will be back next week with episode 36, Birds of a Feather.
Oh, God.
Is this going to be anything like Birdemic? Because
I can only hope. We'll have maybe a new guest, maybe an old guest. I'm not sure yet.
Who knows?
We'll sort that out.
We will.
And all the guests.
I don't think we're going to be doing that for a while. But we will see you next week.
Thanks, guys.